So good to see you. I'm looking over here because that's where I have my attendees. So good to see you people. Fantastic. Okay, so today I'm actually going to get my notes up as well because you know me, or if you know me, you know that I can easily get caught up in the rabbit holes and just disappear into the rabbit holes. So we're not going to do that. I wonder, you are still ticking in, and maybe we have some more people joining. We'll see. But I'll start a little bit because we will get into the juicy bits a little bit later on. And if people have been here before, this is all the introduction and all of the things. So welcome, super, super duper welcome to a business mindset webinar where we're going to talk about the three most, maybe not most important, I don't know, but for me, very important action skills that will actually get you creating results much faster. So we really, really want to create our results as fast as possible, don't we? That's always the case. At least all of the people that I know, they want to create their results as fast as possible. So my name is Anna Wallner. I'm a Swedish coach mostly for Swedish entrepreneurial women. And I run a program called the Business Mindset Program. I'm also the host of the Life Coach, not the Life Coach University, that's where we are, the Life Coach podcast with Anna Wallner, but it's in Swedish. I'm sorry. So if you're not a Swede, I can see, I can recognize some Swedes here. So you, of course, can listen to it. But if you don't know Swedish, it's not any point, really. If you just don't like hearing Swedish, of course, then you can listen. I run sessions here or webinars here about twice a month on the topic of business mindset. And the next one is actually not until the 19th of April because it's Easter. I'm going to go to the States and meet up with my coach colleagues and my mentor, and it will be so much fun. So 19th of April, that's the next webinar. Yeah. And the topic is to be decided upon. So if you don't want to miss that, go and book yourself in. You can do that already, I think, if you go to lifecoachuniversity.com and you just scroll down and you'll find my pretty face there. You can book it in. So if you're new here, this is a pay it forward platform. So the Life Coach University does many things, but one of the things are these pay it forward webinars. And there are so many of them. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want to pay this work forward to as many people as possible. We want to coach millions more. And me and my coach colleagues at the Life Coach University, we have so many webinars. There's so many skills, so many topics, so much things that you can learn and take and apply to your own life. So go up on the website and book your times that you think are good and interesting. And the next session after this one is actually tomorrow already. And it's about Heal, Grow, and Thrive with Chris Wheels. And he is amazing. You should really, really, really go and book that session with Chris because he is a master at what he does. And he also has a very soothing, fantastic, nice voice. I can give you a hint. But today, back to today. So what we're going to do today is that we are going to, or I am going to talk about 30 minutes. I always say that this is going to be short and sweet, and then I ramble about and it takes much longer. But we will absolutely stop at the latest on the hour. You don't have to worry. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and write them in the Q&A. You can, of course, also write them in the chat box, but I don't have the Q&A here, actually. Because I'm just going to get distracted by the Q&A. So write them in the Q&A box and I will get to them at the end. So that is what we're going to do. So now it's 6 minutes past, so we'll just get started. And if anybody joins late, that's just fine. So today we will talk about 3 action skills that will help you get results faster. But before I dive into those, I want to talk a little bit about what actually creates our results in the first place. And according to me and a lot of other people, it's definitely mindset plus action that equals our results. I also like to squeeze in evaluation, because if you have mindset plus action plus evaluation, so you actually continue to do the things that work and stop when there are things that obviously don't work, then you will speed up your progress even more. So mindset plus action plus evaluation equals results, right? And action is a super important bit, because we can't just sit on the sofa and our vision will just land in our lap. It doesn't work like that. And even though I am of the mind that what we think will actually create our results, and if you're new to this thought, welcome. It will change your life. But the reason why I say that is because depending on how you feel, then that will drive your actions. So your feelings are actually your fuel, so to speak, when it comes to your action. So how we do our actions is extremely important, not just that we do them. And the feelings, they determine how we actually do them. So let me just say one example. I'll just take one example, not to get carried away and down in the rabbit hole. But imagine that you're going to sell something. You're going to do a sales pitch. And before you go on and do this sales pitch, you feel nervous or unsure or anxious or any of those like yicky feelings. Think about how you will present that sales pitch. Just when I'm thinking about nervous, unsure, and anxious, I'm like, ooh, I sort of grow small and make myself small, and I don't stand up for whatever it is I'm talking about. So those feelings, nervous, unsure, and anxious, they will make you deliver the sales pitch in a way that probably won't serve you or the person listening. So imagine instead that you're excited and you're passionate and you're determined, and that you think that this you have to sell is like the best deal ever. It's a no-brainer. It's so good. Why wouldn't they want it? If you have that energy, if you have the feelings of excited and passionate and determined that drive you, the sales pitch will be completely different, right? I'm pretty sure you agree, right? So with that said, you need the right feelings to drive your actions, right? And even though that's a lot of the work that I do with my women, the feelings and all of the things, and I never go and meddle in like exactly what actions they are supposed to take. I don't do that. But even so, when it comes to actions, I still have quite a lot to say and teach you about how you can use it, because there is so many things about actions that will speed up the pace towards your goals. There is strategy, there is plan, there is knowing what's massive action and like the next step method and how to fail forward. There's so many things. But today, I want to focus on 3 skills that I consider being super important if you want to reach your vision. So those 3 I have prepared. Those 3 are as follows. Do something. I will get back to all of these, right? So do something. Don't do passive action, or at least don't get stuck in the passive action. And take failing out of the conversation. Those 3. Do something. Don't get caught up in passive action. And also fooling yourself that you are actually doing something. We're going to get back to that. And take failure out of the conversation. Those are so important, because I can see it with both myself, of course, and with my women, that these come up all the time. And we sort of get over them and sort of sort them out in one place and in one situation, and then they pop up in another. And of course, we get better and better and better at spotting them, of course, but they still pop up. And then it's so good to sort of lean yourself towards these 3 action skills, because you can sort them out every time, I promise you. So let's go through them. Action skill number 1 is do something. Because a lot of the women I coach, and me included, are a little bit of perfectionistic, let's just say. And perfectionism is a huge roadblock. And this is like one of the strategies that our reptile brain, if you joined last time I held a PIF, it was about the 10 things that block us, that come in our way, the strategies that our reptile brains use to sort of keep us in the cave and keep us small. And perfectionism is definitely one of them. Because our reptile brain, if we have this tendency, it tells us that what we're trying to do, it's not good enough. It's not ready yet. You need to fix something. Maybe it's not the right shade of blue. I don't know. You probably recognize yourself if you have any perfectionistic tendencies. So when I say do something, I'm like, do something, do anything, put something out there. Go towards your dream, towards your vision. If you're trying to create a company, maybe you need to create a website. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just put it out there. Let people know that you have something to sell, that you have something to give them that might help them. They might need this. And when you do that, when you do something that we sometimes call B- work, then you let it out there and you try it. And then you can see what worked, what maybe didn't work so good, and how can you do it a little bit differently to make it work even better. So you can use the feedback you get when you let these things out, and you can evaluate them and make it even better. But if you get stuck in your perfectionism, it will be very, very difficult, because you will never move in the pace that you want. Because this is all of the things, these 3 strategies are, and these 3 action skills, They are about you moving faster. And the perfectionism is slowing you down. When you tell yourself like, no, it's not ready. I need to fix this a little bit. I need to work on this little thing up here on my website. No, just go out and let people meet you and what you have to offer. Or when it comes to you working towards your vision, you don't need to take the right step forward. You just have to take a step forward. Then when you've done that, you will clearly see if it was the right step or the wrong step. Maybe you need to take a turn. Maybe you need to go back. Maybe you need to evaluate. I don't know. But if you stand in your place, hesitant of whether or not you should do this or that, or whether this that you're trying to create and let out of into the world, if you're holding on to it because you're scared that it's not good enough, you will slow yourself down so much. So what we want to do is to do something. We want to focus on moving forward, not trying to do it perfectly. That's not what we're here to do. We're not here to do it perfectly. So do something, because if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to create something, when it comes to like, I'm sorry, a website or a freebie, perhaps, or a course, it won't be perfect for the first time you let it out. And the truth of the matter is, it will never be perfect because perfect doesn't exist. But our brains are trying to tell us that perfect exists. So we just want to do something. And when you put it out there, then you have the opportunity to improve it because you will get feedback. You can ask for feedback. So it's all a journey. And what we're trying to do now is speed it up a little bit. And how do we do that? We do that by doing something. Something. Just do something. That's the first action skill. So when you catch yourself going like, should I do this? Should I do that? Is it good enough? Maybe it needs to be updated, or maybe it needs to do, I need to do this before. Just realize what you're doing and just ask yourself, okay, what can I do to move forward in this moment? What can I do? Is this actually important? Or is this just the strategy that my reptile brain is pulling on me to make me sort of regress or go back into the cave? So action skill number one, do something. Absolutely. So action skill number two is don't get stuck in passive action. And if you're new here, maybe you haven't heard me talk about massive action versus passive action. So let me just recap a little bit. Massive action is actually action that brings you forward towards your goal. Passive action is something that your brain tells you is necessary to reach your goal. But here it's tricky because your brain doesn't actually want you to create change. It wants you to stay passive and safe in the cave. And the difference between passive action and massive action is, first of all, that massive action actually will create what you want. But it also is a little bit scary because massive action, there is always a risk when you do massive action that you will fall on your face, that you will fail, that you will put yourself out there and get feedback that you don't want. That's massive action. But massive action will also make you stronger. It will make you, it will give you more things to load up in your rucksack, experiences, knowledge, and all of these things, like actual knowledge. But passive action is never scary. Passive action is safe. So the way of knowing if you're doing massive action or if you're doing passive action is the feelings. We're all about feelings here, right? So massive action is a little bit, maybe you're excited, but you want to puke. That's massive action. Passive action, it can be different for many people, but it can be reading, it can be taking a course, planning, getting ready. But just like planning, I just want to say that that's also an action that will make you move faster. So this is a little of a double-edged sword. I used to use passive action or planning as passive action. Absolutely, I did. Because I was like, no, I need to plan. And I planned in excess. I'm not kidding. I planned so much. Of course, it helps and will speed you up if you have some kind of plan. But you will know when you are planning for the safety of passive action and not going into massive action. You will know. So your brain will tell you like, oh, you probably need to read some books on this subject before you start talking about it. Or you need to take a course, or you need to do this, or blah, 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 blah. I don't know what your brain is going to tell you, but you will know what passive action you are indulging in, because the passive action feels safe. It feels okay. And I'm not saying that we're not supposed to read books or take courses or plan or like get ready, of course. But if you find yourself doing that more than you take massive action, you will slow yourself down. And that is all what we're talking about today. We're talking about these action skills that will actually speed you up. And if you minimize the amount of time you do passive action and you increase the amount of time you do massive action, you will move so much more fast, much faster than you can ever imagine. And I mean, I love reading books. I love taking courses, but we need to be aware of the fact that that is actually not what is creating the vision we want. So ask yourself, okay, what is actually needed to create my vision? Now I talk to you because you have some kind of entrepreneurial drive in you, and then there is something you want to create. So what will actually get you there? Is it more clients? Is it more speaking gigs? Is it more products sold? Is it more clients? I don't know. Members in your membership? I don't know. So ask yourself, what kind of passive actions are you currently indulging in? And do you want to do them to the extent that you are currently doing them? Because the passive actions, even though they're so nice, they will not get you where you want to go. Not as fast as massive action. So we want to be aware of not getting stuck in the massive action or the passive action. Sorry. So that's that. Action skill number 3. This is one of my favorite. Take failure out of the conversation And this pops up all the time with my women and also with myself. And this is like, it's like whack-a-mole, you know, that game you play in like amusement parks and stuff, Tivolis, that as soon as you've hit one on the head, another one pops up. So it's like, yeah, now I can do failure. And then something didn't go as you planned, right? That's failure, or at least it is for me, or very often. So you plan something and it didn't end up the way you wanted, and then you go like, oh, I failed. But you don't need to think about it as failure, because this is what I want to offer you. As long as you haven't given up, you haven't failed, right? So when we talk about the massive action and falling on your face, yeah, okay, you've done that. You've fallen on your face and you've done it again. And you've put your things out there and you've fallen smack on your face. And you've put it out there again and you've fallen smack on your face. And you evaluated and you've moved on, and every step will move you forward. As long as you haven't given up, you haven't failed, right? And then a lot of my women, they go like, yeah, but what if I put it out there and they don't like it? Okay, so what? What if they don't like it? Just redo it and put it out there again. And it's like we put so much emphasis in what failure might be. Like, what if this happens? What if I don't get engagement on this social post? What if I put all this time into this and nobody wants to buy it? Okay. So what? We gained information. We now know that this thing that you did or put out there or whatever didn't work. Let's evaluate, because that thing in itself, does it really matter in like 100 years? Probably not so much, right? Will it matter that you tested a freebie that didn't work? No. What will matter is that you look at that and see, okay, what can I tweak? What can I do differently to actually move forward? So, and the question is also quite interesting, like, who decides what's failure anyway? When it comes to you and your life, you do, I would say. You decide what's failure. And I have been in this so much. That's why I'm so passionate about it. My brain has been telling me so many times, when I put a goal, I set a goal and I don't reach it, then my brain says that I've failed. But it's just an arbitrary goal that I've set up. I could have put a completely different goal that I might have reached. And it doesn't really matter, because why did I put the goal there in the first place? To move forward. Am I moving forward? Yes, I am. Well done, me. Doot, doot. So the question is like, okay, what's failure? And do you want to talk about it in that way? I find it immensely helpful to just take failure out of the conversation. We just don't use it. We don't use that in our conversation with ourselves. And if we use it, it's in the sentence, as long as I haven't given up, I haven't failed. Because to me, at least, that feels pretty empowering. So these are the 3 action skills that I really want you to absorb today. It's do something. Don't indulge so much in passive action, and take failing out of the conversation completely and absolutely and fully. I'm so glad that now I'm going to go through, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and what you can do with these. But I'm so proud of myself that I didn't go down a rabbit hole and that we're actually way super good on time. So that's so good. So if you have any questions about this, you can write them in the Q&A, as I said. But let me give you some things that you can actually take with you to start these action skills right away. I love to sort of give you something to sort of mush about, sort of think about and actually take with you. So when it comes to do something, do anything, just ask yourself simply, like, okay, what can I do now? What can I do right now to take one more step towards my vision, towards my goal? Maybe there is something you're sort of working on, and like I described, like it's not perfect yet, so you haven't launched it. Maybe you should just let it out there. Maybe there is something that you've tested, but you don't really think it's good enough yet. Just let it out. Just let it out. Release it into the world now. It's B- work. B- work. Because trying to get it to an A+, why would you even want to do that? Because it will just slow you down. And the biggest thing is probably that nobody will realize the difference between your B- and your A+. That's probably just in your mind. It's probably super good just the way it is already. So release it out in the world, or test your next step that you were thinking. If you don't have like something that I'm talking about, like release a product or your website or whatever it is, think about like, okay, what could you do now that is a step towards your vision? And don't fall for the trick that your lizard brain will tell you that it might not be the right step. Who cares? Just get into the habit of taking the next step, and then the next step. And then, of course, evaluate. We want to do that, right? Mindset plus action plus evaluation equals results. So do the evaluation, take a step, evaluate, take a step, evaluate. Don't get caught up in, oh, is this the right step? Don't care about that. Just do something. Okay. Number two, take a little time to think about what kind of passive actions you usually indulge in. And then think about what actually will bring you closer to your vision. And when you've figured out what will actually bring you closer to your vision, plan them in this week. It's only Tuesday. Plan some of them in this week and make it happen. Don't indulge in the passive action. Identify what you normally do as passive action. Figure out what you actually need to do to move closer, and book that in your calendar. Do that today, and your week will be completely different when you go on weekend. And number three, just decide that you will not fail. Just decide that this is not a word that I'm using. I'm not using the word fail, because as long as I have not given up, I haven't failed. So if you don't fail, you will just learn and you will look forward. You will move forward and you will look forward. So that is the three things I really suggest that you do. Just do something, anything that you can let out in the world, or think about the next step that you can do this week. And then identify what you usually indulge in when it comes to passive action. Figure out what you actually need to do and book that into your calendar. And then just decide on not using the word failure. Don't think about what you do as failing. Just move forward, work forward. That's the only thing that is interesting. And these three things, if you do that, you will, as I said, you will come across them again. If you sort of figure out how to sort of come across them now, they will pop back up, I promise you. But then you will have the skills. You'll go like, yeah, Anna told me just to do something. So when you stand there and go like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Is this perfect enough? Is it blah, blah, blah? Then just do it. Just do something. That's the most important. And also, when you find yourself in the passive action, then you might go like, yeah, I haven't identified my passive actions, and this is definitely one of them. What do I actually need to do? Yeah. And when you hear your brain tell you that you've failed, that should be like an alarm bell for you just going off like, no, don't use that word. I am working forward. I'm moving forward. That's what I do. So that's what I have for you, my friends. And we're only 35 minutes in. I am going to see if you have some questions for me. I'm moving around a little bit. Excuse me. Need to find the Q&A. Here we are. Okay. Anonymous writes, what if I actually fail? Should I just fool myself that I didn't fail? I think this is such a good question because, like I said, what is actually failing? Who decides if you failed? It's like me and my goals. I set up a goal and then I don't reach it and my brain tells me that I failed, right? But did I actually? So when you say that you actually failed, who decided? And then maybe one thing that I can think of is like failing on a test. If you're going to take like your driver's license and you failed on that test, is that a fail? Yeah. In the eyes of many people, that would be a fail. But maybe that's now I'm getting a little woo-woo. Maybe that's the universe version of telling you that you didn't fail, but you need to move forward with your skills in some areas, and then you can do it even better. So even though it's such a practical or like obvious thing as failing a driver's test, you don't need to talk about it as a failure. Because if we're running with that example, the server that you have with you in the car, this was like so many years ago since I did it, but they will tell you why you didn't pass. So you can choose to look at it as a learning. Like, I didn't put on my indicator far enough in advance. So that's how I can improve. It's the same thing if you release a freebie and nobody wants it. It's like, okay, why didn't people want it? Why didn't I pass my driver's license? Because I didn't put the indicator on. Why didn't people want the freebie? Because maybe I didn't put the link to the freebie in the email, whatever. I don't know. So what is an actual fail? That's the question. And why would you choose to look at it as a fail, even though you tell me it's a real fail? I hope that was helpful. So number 2, How do I know what action actually brings me forward in regards to passive action? Yeah, you try it. That's what you do. But also, like I said, with the feelings, if you feel completely safe and comfortable doing it, it's probably not massive action. I need to read it again. How do I know what action actually brings me forward in regards to passive action? Yeah, the best indicator is to try it, do something, and see if it works. And if it works, then you do it again. If it doesn't work, evaluate and see. And evaluate either way, because you also want to know what works, because then you can continue doing that. Maybe it's just a part of the thing that actually worked. Maybe all of the things didn't work, even though it worked on like in the bigger sense, if that makes sense. So yeah, passive action feels safe. Massive action feels a little barfy, at least to me. Okay, last question that I can see. So if you have any more questions, make sure to put them in now. Okay, Anonymous says, an off the topic question perhaps, but how do the women you coach get in their own way? Yeah, that's a good question. I would say perfectionistic tendencies or full-blown perfectionism, procrastination, a lot of procrastination going on, people pleasing for sure, like not focusing on themselves, just focusing on everybody else, a lot of self-doubt, not trusting themselves, and also a lot of lack in belief when it comes to their own capacity and power. And I would say the biggest obstacles for my women are the feelings they produce. That's how they get in their own way. Some feel victimized, some feel powerless, some feel inadequate, some feel unsure, some feel a lot of doubt. And when you have those feelings as a majority in your body, you don't want to do much, actually. That's pretty scary. So I would say that's, yeah, for sure. That's the biggest. Okay, I am going to see. Oh, that's it. You didn't write any more questions. So that's super. So, okay, my friends, it's been amazing, as usual, to host you today. It's been so much fun. I hope that you thought this was helpful too. Apparently, I have a problem speaking today. I'm sorry. So if you speak Swedish and you want more of me, you can hop over to annawallner.se. And if you don't speak Swedish and you still want to get a hold of me, because I do have international clients as well, you can go to the same place, annawallner.se, and you scroll down to the footer at the end. Yeah, everybody knows where the footer is. And there it says contact. And there you'll find my email address. So you can write to me if you want to. But now, before we sign off and say goodbye, I just want to remind you to pay this forward in any way, shape, or form that feels good to you. And easy is, of course, to tell someone about the Life Coach University and all the free webinars that we have here. So, but it's all up to you. You can pay it forward in any way you want. So with that said, my dears, and this is the first time this happens. It's Q2. That's amazing. I've never stopped this early. I just want to wish you an amazing, amazing week. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.